Just looks larpy as all hell.
Help each other out.
And I'll be serious, at a different period in history, I probably would have just spent the minute and 21 seconds of this video just laughing at them. Because again, yeah, it's funny. It's white supremacists who think that they're all Captain America, right? And so yeah, yeah, okay, fine. Laugh at the fash, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's in a period of quite a bit of, like, I do have a genuine fear about far-right militias and their organizations, and the fact that politicians both in the US and Canada have chosen not to disavow them, specifically because they don't want to create a rift between the two. These people could be useful in the future. We'll see what for, but hell. Let's move over to Trump and Truth Social. So, Trump's re-ups his demand to hold a new election now. We get a bunch of posts on Truth Social that he wants an election today. The presidential election was badly and irreparably tainted by the FBI's fake description of the laptop from hell to Facebook and the lamestream media, and for so many other reasons as well. Declare the rightful winner or hold the new election now. Our country, which is failing badly, knows the score. Will never accept the criminal election interference. The FBI just fired a special agent in charge of this outrageous and very illegal assault on the Constitution of the United States of America. So now it comes out conclusively that the FBI buried the Hunter Biden laptop story before the election, knowing that if they didn't, Trump would have easily won the 2020 presidential election. This is massive fraud and election interference at a level never before seen in our country. Remedy, declare the rightful winner, or, and this would be the minimal solution, declare the 2020 election irreparably compromised and have a new election immediately. So at the very least, I want a new election today. So that one's kind of strange. This one's even weirder. QAnon forums are obviously ecstatic and bloodthirsty after Trump's Q endorsing tweet storm this morning. They've been relatively dead in the last few months, with users headed over to the general Trump forums and the militia Q influencer telegrams. Not anymore. Trump just retweeted this. The deep state whispered to President Trump, "You cannot withstand the storm." The president whispered back, "I am the storm." Now, the QAnoners is getting real excited for this, which, by the way, I mean, you've been wrong about everything. Everything. Like, if there's one thing that QAnon has to its name, every prediction that Q has ever made was wrong. Every single one. The ones that people point to towards them getting right were ones that they were retconning, as in they were looking at timestamps and then making predictions based on things that they already knew. And that's basically people fell for it because they don't understand how the internet works. But ultimately, everything. Virtually everything has been wrong. He lost the election. Like, some QAnoners went into this weird mode where it's like, okay, I have to continue to believe and go down this weird line of thinking. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that Trump did win the election, that Joe Biden is Trump, but he's wearing a skin suit. That's it. We'll go down with that one. So Trump is still in power. He's still the president. It's just him in a skin suit. But then once the policies started coming out and they weren't exactly all super Trumpy, they were like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is Joe Biden and all this other weird shit. But now we get this. So Trump's basically truthing out a straight up QAnon meme. And the reason this is kind of concerning is because I said a number of times, you notice how Trump, like, doesn't ever disavow specific groups. He doesn't disavow the Proud Boys. In fact, he says stand by and stand down, or stand down and stand by. He doesn't disavow QAnon. When he was grilled on it time and time again, right before the election, it was basically like, well, I've heard online that they go after pedophiles. I mean, that's a good thing, right? I mean, I don't know much about them. I'm sorry. I don't know who they are. And then it was like, are you serious? Are you genuinely at this point, at this stage in your political career, going to talk about something that has clearly dominated part of the political discourse under your tenure? They worship you as some kind of white savior of humanity. They say that there's been a plan. It combines every other. It's the final boss of conspiracy theories. Every other conspiracy theory is locked into this one. The Illuminati, fucking the lizard people, everything, all the way up to the liberal elites and the Jewish cabal of Hollywood people who apparently are also pedophiles and they want the adrenochrome with the children. All this, and we're getting the crumbs and the truth. Like, Trump losing obviously did a lot of damage to that group, and they fractured into a bunch of other groups, and they got picked up by a bunch of other hate groups as well. So online, there's a lot of overlap. The one thing that seems to be uniting most of the far right and the alt-right is their hatred of LGBTQ people, and specifically of trans people. That hasn't changed and hasn't wavered. And that's what kind of unites them across all the different groups of the far right and the conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff. But QAnon and QAnoners, they seem very poised and ready to start to believe again, to get right back into this. And I mean, you can say it culminated into January 6th. That's partly true. And then it kind of fell apart after the election. But they are also part of groups that are very well trained and angry. QAnon lore states that Donald Trump will say, "My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us," and then send the National Guard to publicly arrest and hang Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and the deep state. Q fans are still waiting for this to happen, despite Trump not having authority anymore. "Sir, please finish them off. We're done playing with them like a cat to a mouse. Nuke them from orbit. Someone needs to make Trump a meme that has the words, 'My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us.' So close to the words we've all been waiting for." So they're all thinking that when he actually says the storm is upon us, that's going to be the signal. And then all of a sudden, everything is going to happen simultaneously. And the QAnoners will be so very validated. So validated. They'll all be able to sit back and be like, "Oh, shit, I'm so happy I lost my friends, my family, my wife, my kids, everything for this. I was right, vindicated. I'm going to call her right now. Honey, did you hear the news?" Yeah, it happened. Yeah, the storm happened. Yeah, I was right all along. What's that? Oh, you still don't want to get back together. Oh, you're really happy now. Oh, his name's Ted, and he's good to you, and he's good to the kids too. Okay, well, just so you know, that I was right. The storm did come. It came. The storm came. Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Say hi to the kids for me. By the way, if we're just switching straight up to like Hogwatch, things are getting a lot more dramatic in the show that is America. The rhetoric has been ramping up. Yesterday we saw Tucker Carlson have a guest on who said that he predicts in the next 10 years that America, the GOP will elect a fascist. Tucker Carlson agreed, and both of them were trying to put it based squarely on their own persecution. Like, if they keep coming after us, we'll have no choice but to go fascist. We've heard that rhetoric from a lot of other people, by the way. Like, the turn towards fascism, which, by the way, is basically the final stage of capitalism, is happening so rapidly and so fluidly that it's both horrifying and fascinating to watch. The cast of Steven Crowder's show saying that, like, Drag Queen Story Hour, it's this kind of stuff that led to the Nazis, right? As if, like, well, they keep doing this. If you keep testing us, if you queers keep, having a good time or whatever, we're going to become Nazis. We're going to go full Nazis. Tucker Carlson himself has opened one of his shows by saying, "Just another day in Weimar." Yep. Yeah, just another day in Weimar. Not at all a little worrisome or scary. But anyways, they're ramping up their stuff. A lot of it is silly. Some of it is scary. You can go through the silly stuff. They're still really mad about the PPP loans.
Student loan debt forgiveness is forgiving loans that people willingly took out. These are students that took out loans, hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they could go to Ivy League colleges and pursue a college education. That's an intentional choice to take out a loan versus a government shutdown of the economy and business. It's night and day difference, and the White House will do anything to attack.
So you have to go to college to get a good job. This is part of the American dream, that you keep force feeding people. If you want to go to college and you don't come from a rich family, you're going to need to take out a student loan. Even if you do come from a wealthy family, you probably still need to take out a student loan, because most families, even if they're well-to-do, don't have liquid assets, like liquid cash. They don't just have like $40,000, $50,000 sitting in a bank account. So yes, they're probably going to take out student loans. That's how the whole thing works. Alex Jones says the leftist deep state globalists are plotting to stage a false flag event to blame on MAGA to seize control of the country. Racially motivated mass shootings, bombings, and poisonings. They intend to bring in a full dictatorship in the next 71 days.
In the next 71 days, we're going to see some very violent fireworks. I would predict racially motivated mass shootings, bombings, poisonings, attacks on power supplies being blamed on the right wing. They intend to bring in a full dictatorship in the next 71 days.
It doesn't count, Alex. You can't say, "Oh, I got a best-selling novel, The Great Reset, bestseller," when half the copies sold are by you as business expenses, so you can use them as props in your fucking set. Like, what is this? Is this like 5,000 sales in one day?
It's unbelievable. 5,000 books sold one day alone. Breaking records, everybody. Records broken. Yeah, they won't acknowledge it. The deep state won't tell you about it.
They intend to bring in a full dictatorship in the next 71 days. And we are all strapped to this thing. This is such a dangerous time. And I would advise the globalists who are mid-level that think they're about to have a leftist revolution The globalists don't actually plan at the higher levels to have that. They plan on having a civil war that brings down America, and you'll be the fall guy. The next.
So, classic Alex Jones, by the way, as long as he keeps things incredibly ambiguous, as long as he says things like 71 days, you'll see any series of the next 20 different things they'll name, poisonings, mass shootings, stabbings, blah, blah, could be racially motivated. Well, that gives him a very large time frame. Statistically, there's a lot of mass shootings in America. A lot of those mass shootings can be racially motivated. Typically, it is a white shooter that is killing a whole bunch of black shooters. Sorry, a whole bunch of black people. So if that occurs within the next 71 days, he can then point to that and say, once again, I was right. Look, I got a prediction correct. I told you this was going to happen, and it happened. But if you cast a wide enough net, anything can happen everywhere. I predict in the next 10 days, it'll rain in a part of the world. I predict that. In the next 10 days, somewhere around the planet Earth, it will rain. There will be rain that will fall from the sky. I don't have divine powers. I'm not in communication with God often. But in this case, I do know that somewhere around the world, in the next 10 days, there will be rain. And it will happen. And should that happen, everybody, I want you to point out that Lance was right. You know, he made a prediction. He called it. He called it. It's raining there now? Sorry to say that I'm always right. I know. It's just, I don't know where these gifts came from, but I have them, and I have to use it. I have to use it to the best of my ability. Just be happy, everybody, that I'm not using it for evil, because I could use it for evil, right? But I'm not. Lance is the New World Order. Speaking of weird shit, so I know a lot of you, since we're talking about the far right and, you know, the fashion stuff, a lot of you love to laugh at this stuff, as do I. It does look like some of the larpiest shit that ever larped, okay? This is white supremacist organization Patriot Front doing one of their training rallies for preparing for war, they say.
Hey, don't let him in. You're staggering, guys. Cycle back. What are we doing? Cycle back, right. Alright, should we try that again from the top?
Now, just by definition, the fact that they are white supremacist makes them pretty fucking silly and cringe. And yes, you should laugh at the fash. And yes, the aesthetics, the fact that they want to kind of be Captain America, every single one of them, combined with the incredible sense of hyper-nationalism, which is very indicative of fascism, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's silly. And you can watch this kind of stuff and you can laugh. But I've said before, are you training on the other end? Because is there a strong leftist contingent of people who are preparing if there was to break out some kind of a physical confrontation in the United States? If lines were drawn along the sand, along racial lines, would there be in a meet unification between different coalitions of people who are going to be in opposition to white supremacy? It's again, this is LARPy as all hell, and yeah, it's deeply, deeply embarrassing for them for sure, but it is the right-wing militias in the United States and Canada who are training, who are actively training, doing firearms training. They have ex-militia members, ex-RCMP members, ex-police members, ex-LA officers in their ranks who are training them, teaching them all kinds of weaponry and combat skills. They are the ones who right-wing politicians like Trump know will be their foot soldiers in events that require things that may be slightly illegal, like January 6th, who are the people who were leading the charge in a lot of ways and who were instigating a lot of the violence. The Proud Boys, for example. These are the groups that, should things turn, and guess what? You've already seen how confused the police are, where they stand in a lot of this. Like, yes, they have a duty to uphold and protect and serve the people, but a lot of the police seem to be aligning with Trump, seem to be on Trump's side. There was that constant thing where it's like, well, yeah, they're definitely a right-wing bias amongst the police force. So you've got the far-right militias who are definitely training actively, looking to enforce an upcoming race war or whatever they see. You've got them with far-right politicians who, yes, the election, the November midterms may not go exactly the way that they had planned. They could very well still take the House. I mean, statistically, even if you look at the numbers, it looks like the Republicans are going to take the House. They might not take the Senate. So they might not take the House and the Senate, but they could take the House. If they control the House, then they control the Supreme Court, the House, and then the next step would be controlling the presidency, which 2024, yeah, Sleepy Joe has suddenly become Dark Brandon in the span of a couple weeks, but that's because it's election time. And so election time is when you'll see politicians suddenly do a whole bunch of things. You're like, oh shit, whoa, look at his approval ratings. So yeah, now that's happening. That one's certainly nice to see. He's doing some things. Definitely prefer to not things. But again, if they start to control the Supreme Court, if they take over the House, then the two places that are left are going to be the Senate and the presidency. Combine that with the fact that we have a MAGA crowd that seems to not want to accept democracy or elections. They are spreading fake news. They are hyper-nationalist. They are aligning with Christian nationalists. They oppose and are in direct opposition to institutions of the arts, institutions of higher education, certainly opposed to mass media. I don't know how many more checkboxes we need to start going down here to start showing you where exactly this is all headed. So as silly as this all looks, and again, it does look silly. It looks incredibly silly. There is no leftist response to this. Like, the best you could come up with is maybe Antifa, and Antifa are not training with weapons and firearms and using techniques and how to be able to do OPSEC or even you know, your own personal security, how to be able to resist these kind of, like, they're little rogue buildups of factions that usually come out in opposition to a like white nationalist rally or something. Then you'll be like, oh look, it's Antifa, they're showing up. We get both sides, you know, there's the right wing militias and the left wing militias. Clearly that's what's happening. That's definitely gonna happen, you know. But again, these are the organizations that the far right and the fascists and the Christian nationalists have at their side. They are going to be the foot soldiers should something happen. They're going to be the people on the streets should something happen. If there is the Tim Pool style race war or civil war, whatever you want to call it, that breaks out, these individuals are going to have a lot of advantages in the sense that they are already going to be heavily trained, heavily armed, and coordinated. Now, should you know, the state powers side with Trump for whatever reason, I don't think the military ever would, but I think if you have certain police factions that are like, we're going to just allow these people to do what they do, because that seems to be sometimes what the police do when it comes to far right militias, just, oh, live and let live. Yeah, I mean, they're just a couple of good old boys just walking through the streets patrolling, right? Got a lot of recipes for disaster. And again, it looks so silly. Just looks LARPy as all hell.
Go back. Help each other out. Come back here, man.
And I'll be serious, at a different period in history, I probably would have just spent the minute and 21 seconds of this video just laughing at them. Because again, yeah, it's funny. It's white supremacists who think that they're all Captain America, right? And so yeah, yeah, okay, fine. Laugh at the fash, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's in a period of quite a bit of, like, I do have a genuine fear about far right militias and their organizations, and the fact that politicians both in the US and Canada have chosen not to disavow them, specifically because they don't want to create a rift between the two. These people could be useful in the future. We'll see what for, but hell, it's not going to happen, lads. I live amongst these people. I've met 3%ers. I call them 3-inchers. They're a bunch of cowards and LARPy clowns. There are cowards and LARPy clowns. There's also people who shoot up fucking mosques. There's cowards and clowns, and then there's people who shoot up malls. You know, there's all these cowards until fucking January 6th happens. And then once you have mob mentality, sure, a lot of those people at January 6th could have been cowards, could have been clowns, probably wouldn't have had any, you know, guts to do something like that in another setting. But there's enough people in there who are not cowards and will smash windows and will jump inside and will call for Mike Pence to be hanged and all that kind of stuff and will kick down doors. Hitler was a clown, failed artist, loser. Yeah, and we can laugh about that in hindsight.
We have to remain peaceful on our side, but I do think that if they're going to escalate the language, then game on. Like, okay, if you're going to call us a bunch of fascists, we're not going to take that anymore. You're the fascist, Joe Biden, and there's other words we could use as well. We're not going to be like, well, we have to remain peaceful on our side, but I do think that if they're going to escalate the language, then game on. Like, okay, if you're going to call us a bunch of fascists, we're not going to take that anymore. You're the...
It's nice of them to use a wide-angle lens to fit Charlie Kirk inside. I like that they're accommodating for that. A defeated and dejected Mike Lindell says the reason nobody watches his event to change the world last week is because it was failing due to conspiracy.
It's the aftermath of one of the most important events in our country's history. I will tell you this, what I have learned since then. This weekend, we had Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuck, all the search engines worked against us there. I bought AdWords on every single one of them platforms so that if you put in Moment of Truth Summit or Mike Lindell's event, an ad would have came up. So it would have been the first one telling you where to go there and all these things. This happened back when I did Absolute Proof, the movie. Google and all them took away my ability to buy those ads. I expected to come in this morning, I'd have $200,000 in bills from all them AdWords. Everybody talking about it and spreading the word. Less than $100, everybody. What they did is totally suppress these events in this adware. I'm here live on Facebook. There's only 300 people there that they've suppressed Facebook. All the media, including Salem Media, Newsmax, Fox, all the media, nobody has reached out to me, everybody. Nobody. Remember, I told you all, the only way this last weekend fails is if we don't.
You know what's like both scary and sad is that you can have these corners, these Alex Jones or Mike Lindell's, but these conspiratorial corners of the internet where they get to actually utilize the fact that there's no mainstream appeal to what they talk about as a justification for them being censored. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you have very limited appeal. Mike Lindell, genuinely, it's people who are in the camp that not only was Trump completely 100% correct, the election was stolen from him, but that there was a conspiracy involving Venezuela, voting machines, Hugo Chavez. So that one's a little bit more out there than normal. But also, they don't want to get their messaging from the pillow guy, who seems to be kind of just like, you know, a human clown. So like, there's that aspect as well. But I don't think it's because you're intentionally being suppressed by Facebook and Google and all these other people. I think it's just like, they may not want anything to do with you because it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, no, we're not touching that. I mean, conspiratorial. Also, there's also, I think, just a limited appeal to what you personally sell. I mean, 300 viewers is really good. That's more than I have right now, I think. Oh, no, I have. Okay, fine. But 300 viewers is still really good, ultimately, for that line of stuff.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.